Hello. In this video, I want to show you the effect that the so-called Loudness War has had on the music of U2 and what the real-world effect of that is, how that affects us listening to their music. And along the way, we're going to find the secret to how to sound loud in the 21st century, and the answer may surprise you. So here I've got a little playlist with 4 big U2 hits in it. Where the Streets Have No Name from the Joshua Tree. We have The Fly from Achtung Baby. Vertigo from How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb from 2004, a little bit later. And Get On Your Boots from No Line on the Horizon. So I'll just quickly play you some excerpts from the loudest sections of those songs in order. So first you have Where the Streets Have No Name from 1987. It's all I can do. And next, The Fly from Achtung Baby. That's from 1991. And then we jump ahead a little bit to 2004. Possibly the peak of the Loudness War. Vertigo. I'm sure you can hear those are getting louder. And finally, Get On Your Boots. So you can clearly hear there the effect of the Loudness War. They're getting louder through the years. Vertigo and Get On Your Boots are much louder than Where the Streets Have No Name, coming straight off the CD, and we can see confirmation of that if we take a look at the waveforms. Here's Where the Streets Have No Name, here's The Fly, maybe a little bit louder. Vertigo, you can see that big block of noise, it's already been cranked up. Get On Your Boots. But I said I'd talk to you about the real world effects of this kind of loudness, and to do that we need to switch on the sound check feature in iTunes. So go to the preferences, switch sound check on. Sound check is a feature that just evens out the replay volume of songs, because the number one source of complaints from users, radio, TV, MP3 players, is levels that keep jumping up and down when you're on shuffle. So now let's listen to those songs again.
Just give me what I want, and no one gets hurt. Let me in the sound, let me in the sound, let me in the sound, let me in the sound.
And suddenly, all the volume differences we heard before are gone. And they all sound a very similar loudness. And in fact, we can see the different values that iTunes decides for each song based on how loud it is by looking on the info tab. You can see there we have a volume setting of minus 3.4 dBs for The Fly. Joshua Tree, Where the Streets Have No Name, is being turned down by 1.2 dBs. Get On Your Boots is being turned down by minus 6.6 dB. So those are the values that iTunes is deciding should be used to get consistent playback volumes between those songs. And if we move over to Wavelab and look again at the waveforms, I've turned each of those songs down by the value. So we've got 1.2 dBs for Where the Streets Have No Name, 3.4 dBs for The Fly. But here for Vertigo, we have a whopping 9.5 dB gain reduction for that song. Now, honestly, I'm not quite sure why iTunes thinks that Vertigo has to be turned down quite that much, but the effect is actually quite noticeable. Let me just play this to you again. Keep an eye on the meters here. I've got them set up so that most of the songs are averaging around 0 on the VUs here. And take a look at the TT dynamic range meter over here to see how squashed the songs are, what the difference between the peak level and the loudness of the songs is. So you can see that overall, the effect of the increasing levels of the Loudness War is very small for the end listener. There's no real noticeable difference in replay volume between Where the Streets Have No Name, The Fly, and Get On Your Boots. Vertigo, which is, as far as the measurements go, the loudest, in inverted commas, song in the set, is actually being played back the quietest by iTunes. And this is not uncommon in my experience. I've found that quite a few of the very loudest songs get turned down the most in iTunes. Now, that's not a problem that I've found with R128 or with Replay Game, which is the system that Spotify uses, but it is one of the features of volume normalization systems like this. You can't discount the possibility that something like that is going to happen. And this is important. You might be saying, well, I don't have Soundcheck switched on my iPod, but Soundcheck is mandatory on iTunes Radio, which has over 10 million users in the US alone and has just been rolled out in the UK and I think the rest of Europe. It's a major discovery source for music, and it's going to get more so in future. Spotify uses a similar system. So does Pandora. Radio and TV use similar systems. So one instant takeaway from this is that if you want to sound good and loud on iTunes Radio, don't make your song too loud on the CD. And luckily for U2, I've got here their new single, Invisible, that they released recently. And we can see from the waveforms it looks a little bit more dynamic. Let's take a look at that on the meters and have a listen. It's got a level adjustment in iTunes of minus 5.7. So not as much as Get On Your Boots, certainly not as much as Vertigo.
It's like the room just cleared of smoke. I'm more than you see. We're beating the blow.
So that's certainly standing up well against the older songs as a step in the right direction for U2. I still think the older songs sound even better. They seem to have more spark and liveliness and interest to me even than Invisible. But Invisible definitely sounds better than Vertigo and Get On Your Boots to me when the replay loudness is matched in this way. And let's hope they continue with that trend when they release their new album maybe later this year, just like we saw with massive hits like Blurred Lines and Get Lucky. Maybe the new U2 album will even have a bit more in the way of dynamics, in which case, in the real world, it's going to sound great, as we just heard. So, the surprising secret of how to sound loud in the 21st century is to turn your music down. The harder you push the levels up towards the digital maximum, onto the CD, into your audio files, the more chance there is that Soundcheck and other systems like it will turn your music down. Whereas if you use more conservative levels for your music, it's going to get played back at the same level as everything else, and there's a good chance it'll sound better as a result. So there you go. I hope that's interesting or useful. If you're interested in the things I've been talking about in this video and like some more information, head over to dynamicrangeday.com and check out some of the other videos on my YouTube channel or on my website, productionadvice.co.uk. My name's Ian Shepherd. Thanks for listening.